Hello everyone and welcome to my coloring corner. Today is Friday and we have some wonderful fun things to play with and give our first impressions of. This is the Staedtler Design Journey colored pencil set. It's a 72 colored pencil set made in Germany. This is the set that Joanna Basford is using for her new book, and I blame Emily. Just saying. And this, I have saved the pencils from this horrible cardboard coffin. uh, I really would like to put this out there to companies. Please stop putting your pencils in these. They especially if you're shipping overseas and yeah, if you're shipping your pencils to people, don't put them in this. They break. It makes me cry. So I have saved them from this paper cardboard flimsy box that they come in. As you can see, they did get shaken up a little bit during shipping, so all of the tips have hit the top of the cardboard here. Made me sad. But I have saved them and I have put them in a pencil holder. So these are all of the wonderful colors. I have resorted them into color order, and I did use the assistance of Emily's order for that. But I have swatched them. So let's jump over to the swatch. This will take a few minutes. It's only 72 set, but you do have plenty of time to sit back and watch the swatch and have a sip of coffee or two. When we come back, I will go through the swatch with you, and of course, we will do our testing as well. So, well, first of all, let's take a look at the color at the pencils. Nah, we'll do that when we come back. So let's get the swatch done and out of the way, and then we'll come back. We'll take a look at the pencils. We'll do some testing and some coloring with them. Sit back, relax, have a sip of coffee or two. We will be right back. okay, so that wasn't too bad. So we have swatched them. The colors on here are, let's switch over to the close-up so you can see better. The white is not very white, but that's okay. That's expected with most colored pencils. We have a good range of yellow into our oranges, our peach tones, and then into our reds. Yeah, the peach tones, the lighter skin tone colors are a little bit lacking, but that's also to be expected in a smaller set. This one here I shouldn't have put there. I should have moved that one. Um, there's a couple of them that I should have moved. And I see it now that I've got them all swatched side by side. But that happens. So we've got our reds. This is a really good true red here, and this is a really good dark red. And we've got a couple of the lighter reds, so an orange red and a pink red. And then we have a couple of pinks here as well as a pink purple. And then we go into our purple tones and our blue tones. This set has a lot of blue. And then it also has some blue greens into our greens. And it also has quite a few in the green department as well. It also has a really good selection of browns. So there's quite a few in the browns as well. And then a good selection of the grays from our warm grays to our cool grays, as well as, of course, black. And the black is really, really, really good. It's a really deep black. So we have a lot of different variations. The lighter tones, the lighter colors, I feel are a little bit lacking, but for example, the pinks, the purples, the secondary colors are color families are a little bit lacking, like the pinks, the purples, the oranges, that sort of thing. All right, so that is our color chart. Let's flip this over and we'll start with our testing. So we're going to grab, well, let's flip it back over here. Let's grab 110, which is this one here, should be, yes. And then we will grab our good red, which is 299, which should be this one here. Yep. And then we'll grab 333 as well for our blues. It's a very basic blue. All right, so there is our three rainbow colors, our primary colors. Now, let's take a look at the pencils themselves here. Let's flip this over. We'll take a look at the pencils. So on the pencil itself, it says Staedtler, of course, made in Germany. And then on the back, there's your barcode number, and then this number here. This number here is the number that I'm going with, and that has basically is the number for the pencil. So I don't put the 146C, 146C. I just put the number at the end. So there is no name on it. However, there is a number on it that helps you determine what pencils are what, which is good. All right, so let's get started here. Let's start with our red. Oh, another thing I wanted to mention is the cores of these pencils are quite thin. It is a hexagonal pencil, so it does feel good in the hand, but it is a thinner pencil. Great for details and that sort of thing. You can, of course, color an entire picture with them, but I find the thinner pencils work really good for doing that detail work that the thicker pencils can't get into the really tiny details with, because no matter how sharp you sharpen a thick pencil, sometimes they will break trying to get into those details. Now I'm just layering it up, building up that color to a point where I would normally stop while I'm coloring. And then we will test it with our water brush. Of course, I don't scrub because when I'm using a water-based product on top of my pencils, I don't scrub. I'm just going to gently go over top of it with the water brush, the same as I would if I was using a glitter gel pen or a glitter water pen, things like that that I would use on top of pencils for accenting. Now that's a really good coverage. I don't have a lot of white spot in there, so that's about where I would normally stop when I'm coloring. Now let's do the yellow. Again, I'm not putting a lot of pressure on these pencils. They do seem to cover quite well without manhandling them, which is fantastic. Another thing we may do after we play with these for a little bit, we may grab the Staedtler Ergosoft, which I do also have, and give them a little bit of a test run against each other and see the difference between these and the Ergosoft. The Ergosoft are a triangular pencil, and it does have, half the colors. So we will see what the difference is in feel and that sort of thing. Depending upon that, you may find that the design series is a better purchase for you. I did buy them off of Blick because Amazon is crazy, insane, expensive for them. So if you do find that Amazon's too expensive, Blick does have them on sale, or not on sale, but for sale cheaper than Amazon. They are currently out of stock, but will be back in stock by the middle of next month. So I will, of course, leave a link to the Blick site below the video. I'll also leave the Amazon one as well, but like I said, the Amazon, you may get them faster, but they are a little bit more expensive than the Blick. All right, so there is our colors. I'm going to brush that off, make sure that there's no residual crumbs, so to speak. And we're going to take our water brush, preferably one with water in it. And I'm going to drop a drop on my hand so you know that it's wet. And then we're just going to wipe this up. And the red, a little tiny bit of movement, not a whole lot. And yellow doesn't look like it's moving at all. So they don't seem to be moving a whole lot with the water, which is awesome. The red does have a little tiny bit of movement in it, but the blue and yellow don't have any movement at all, which is great. Now let's do our smudge test. So we're going to color the same circles with the red, yellow, and blue here. Again, we're going to just put in the layers until we normally stop. So I'm just going to color the same way I would normally color when coloring a page. The reason why I do the smudge test is because I have a tendency to run my hand over colored sections. And I have ruined a few colorings by rubbing my hand across something that was not smudge proof or smudge resistant and drug deep colors into light colors and ruined the way that I wanted it to look. So if you have a tendency to color with your hand on top of the page, which most of us do, um, this test is something that should be very helpful to you. If you do have these pencils and they do smudge, the one thing I will always suggest is that you, when you're done an area, don't do it until you're finished an area, of course, but use your blender pencil. It does, the Caran d'Ache blender pencil does put a layer of wax over top of the color, which does seal it very nicely. So I really like the Caran d'Ache blender. It does so much. It seals it from water, it seals it from smudging, it blends it nicely and softly into each other. Yeah. I can't say enough about the Caran d'Ache blender, but this video isn't about the Caran d'Ache blender, so we will refrain. So just building that color up, making sure I have a good layer covering all the white spot. And I'm definitely stopping where I would normally stop if I was coloring. So just building that color up with layers, the same way I do when I color. Now you can, of course, heavy hand this and throw it all down all at once. And the reason why I don't do that is because when you're coloring a page, if you do that, you're going to end up removing the tooth of the paper, which means that you can't add any further color to it. Now during the testing, it doesn't really matter if I've removed the tooth of the paper, but while I'm coloring, I don't do that. So I want this test to be as accurate to how I color as possible. If I colored with a heavy hand, I would be using a very heavy hand with them so that I would know how that is going to work for how I color. So of course these tests, when I'm doing them here, are all about how I do things. Now when you do these tests at home, do them the way that you would do things. If you're a heavy-handed colorer, make sure that you use a heavy hand on your test, because if you don't and you color something heavy-handed and you've only tested for a light layer, you may find that that test is not working right. It's not giving you the right impression or the right understanding of what the pencil is going to do under a heavier hand. All right, my finger is clean, it's dry. Just going to make sure so it's dry. And we're just going to push this up. And we're going to see how far it goes. So it does move on the red. I'm going to wipe off the red, make sure that we have nothing on our finger. Move the yellow. So a little bit of movement on the yellow. Same with the blue. So there is some movement on all of those colors. So definitely not smudge proof. Well, they're not smudge resistant. They're definitely one that I would use a blender pencil on to seal that pigment into the page. Sorry about that. My throat just decided that it needed to be cleared. So now we're going to do our blending. So we're going to take some pinks. So we've got 3 colors of pinks here that work really well together, so we'll use those. So we've got a dark, a medium, and a light. So we're going to start with our dark. And again, we're going to color the same way we would color for our normal coloring. So I'm going to put down a couple of layers, and I'm going to leave a tail. So I'm going to get darker on this side, but darker than on that other side. So over here we're going to fill in all the tooth. We're going to leave the tooth over there. And the reason why we're leaving the tooth over there is because we want another color to add into that. So we want to blend another color into that without getting a hard line. The best way to do that is to leave a tail of your previous color that you can go over top of and build the new color from. So this is the next one. This is number 20. The first one was number 23. And then I'm going over top of the tail and building that color out. And then we're going to bring it out into the center area here. And we're going to leave a tail here for the next color to build into. So this area here we're going to fill in. And then we're going to build off of that tail, again with number 21. So I'm going to go over the tail. So these are blending really nicely together. Not getting a hard line in the blend, which is what we're looking for. So there is our blend. So as you can see, it goes from dark, medium to light without a hard line in the middle of each color, which is awesome. Now for our rainbow blend, we're going to use our rainbow colors. So we're going to use our primary colors to create our secondary colors. We're going to use red to yellow, yellow to blue. The red to yellow should create an orange, and the yellow to blue should create a green. Again, we're going to start with our base. We're going to leave a tail for that next color to build into. So we're just going to color this the same way we would color anything else, filling in that tooth as deeply as we can, getting that solid color there. So there's our red. Now we're going to build into that with our yellow to create our orange. Now we're going to extend that out, filling in the center area for our yellow and leaving a tail there for our green. Now we're going to add a little bit more red to that. And this is where you build your layers color by color. So you put down one color, put down another color, and put down one color, and put down the next color. And that's just building your layers the same way you would build your layers with one color. It's just you're switching back and forth to create that new color. And it's definitely creating an orange. I'm going to wipe that off, make sure that I don't have any more red on there. And we're going to blend that into the yellow. And then leave the tail for the blue to blend into. building that color up. Now we're going to go over it again with the yellow. And of course, the more yellow you add to the blue, the more of a yellow-green you receive. The more blue you add, the more of a deep green you receive. And it definitely makes green with the yellow and blue. And I know that a lot of people say, well, this is a pointless test. And the reason why it's not a pointless test to me is because sometimes when I'm layering different colors, I don't want to make mud. So knowing what colors will create different colors makes it a lot easier to take 3 pencils and do an entire page, creating other colors as you go. If the pencils don't create those other colors in the rainbow, then it makes it very difficult to build an entire palette, if that makes any sense at all. All right, so we have our blenders here. So we're going to use the Caran d'Ache blender as well as the white as a blender. So we're going to use number 27, which is a nice deep color. And I'm going to put a few layers down, but I'm not going to cover up all of that white spot. We're going to see if the blenders will help us move that pigment around to cover up that white spot. All right, I think one more layer should be good. That should be good. So as you can see, there's still quite a bit of white spot in there. Now the Caran d'Ache blender moves pigment very nicely. And basically what it does is it just smushes it down into our white spot, which makes it actually quite a bit brighter because the white spot is actually what dulls down your page. So the more white spot that you have, the vibrancy of the color is going to be minimized. So that has definitely blended quite nicely. Now let's do the same thing, but with the white. Now with white, of course, you're going to end up dulling down the color because the white is not going to brighten it up. Now this white is quite translucent. So the white in this set is quite translucent. So we're not going to get as much of a dull down as we would if we were, say, using a Prismacolor white. But it's still going to dull it down a little bit. And it's not moving it nearly as well as the Caran d'Ache did. But it definitely still does smooth it out. And it does dull it down quite a bit as well. I'm actually kind of surprised with the amount that it dulled it down. Now with the white, you can add more color. Sometimes with the Caran d'Ache or other blenders, once you get that layer on there, you may not be able to add more color. So let's see if we can add more color to the other one as well. It depends upon the pencils, of course. So I can still feel the tooth of the paper below the Caran d'Ache, where below this one it was very smooth. So the Caran d'Ache does do better blending as well as giving you the opportunity to add more color. which is really cool. So let's brush that off and see how much it actually covered. So the white blend covered it, but it dulled it down, and then it took up the tooth of the page. The Caran d'Ache blender did blend it, and brightened it quite a bit, but didn't take up all of the tooth of the page. Now, because I've done this now 3 times, I can pretty much guarantee you the tooth of the page is going to be taken up with that. So if you gently go over something with your Caran d'Ache blender, yeah, oh yeah, definitely taken up. However, I can still add a little bit of color to it. So not as much as I started with, but I can still add a little bit of color, which is cool. So the white, you can definitely use it to blend. It does help remove the white spot. However, it does dull down the color, and it does take up the tooth of the page very quickly. Now, the cost analysis for these. The base cost is $15.60. I didn't realize my nails were that dirty. I was doing dishes before I started recording, and I didn't realize my nails were dirty. So $15.60 at 22 cents per pencil. That's your base cost. Now for me, my shipping cost was $7.95, which it comes out to 33 cents per pencil paid. Now there's also taxes on top of that. Being in Oregon, we don't have sales tax, so I wasn't charged the taxes. So if you live in a state that charges sales tax, that would be added as well as your shipping. And of course, shipping is determined by place. So your base cost is going to be 22 cents a pencil. Now, depending upon where you live and whether or not you have taxes, sales taxes, will vary the amount of how much the pencils are going to cost. All right, so for 33 cents a pencil, so far they're doing really, really well. I'm really impressed. Now there are a couple of different ways to color things, and there's a couple of different looks that will come from the different ways of coloring things. Now I color things from dark to light. So what I mean when I say I color things from dark to light is I start with a dark color and go into the shadow areas. I'm working with number 23 here, and I bring that out into those shadow areas. And then I darken at the very base, as dark as I want it to be. Now I've left the tails for the next color to blend into, just like I do with everything. And then we take number 20, which is our medium tone, and we extend that dark area out, blending into it. And we come into our medium shadows. So the areas that we want to be still shadowed, but we don't want that dark shadow in them. And then we just leave a little bit of a tail. Just very, very lightly leaving that color. And then we take our lightest color and we just go right into the tail and bring that out and put our lightest color down. Now this is one way that you can definitely get that transition into your different colors. Now another technique that a lot of people use is to color from light to dark. And what they do, and this is something I do every once in a while, it depends upon the page and that sort of thing. I tend to do this a little more when I'm doing grayscale, but we lay down the entire thing with the light color, and then we build the colors down. So now we're going to put our medium tone. So this is called going light to dark. And the one thing that I do notice going from light to dark and doing a full base layer of the light color is it does change the colors of your medium and dark tones. So if you're wanting to go and have a very vibrant dark area, I would suggest going from dark to light and only using your light areas, your light colors in the areas that you want those light tones to be. So I'm just building the color up with my medium tone at this point, covering all of those shadowy areas that we want to cover with our medium shadow. And then we're going to use our dark tone. Now the reason why I'm doing this on opposing or petals next to each other so that you can see the difference between the blend as well as the coloration. And sometimes I find that once I get to a point with adding enough of the light color and medium color, once I get into that darker tone, there's not a lot of tooth left there to add the color. Now we're just going to fill in with the light again, and blending that in to our light tone so that we don't have any harsh lines. Now, the difference between the two is over here your dark colors are more prominent than over here. And we did get a good blend between doing it either which way. It's just the dark tones over on this side here are going to show up a little bit more because they haven't been washed out by your lighter tone. Both are beautiful and they did blend beautifully together. Now I'm going to do this one in the dark to light, and then I'll do this one from light to dark, keeping it fairly consistent across the flower because, you know, even though it's a test flower, we want it to be pretty. Again, bringing that tail up and making it our darkest down here at the base where we want it to be dark. And going in with our medium tone, going into that tail and extending it out. And bringing that dark color down. Well, medium color. Attaching it to the dark. Like so, and of course I moved it out of the line, but hopefully you were able to see that. Sometimes So as you can see, the vibrancy is a little bit deeper there. Now we're going to do this one here, the same as we did this one. So we're going to start with our light color. And then we're going to go into our medium color. Another thing that you will notice is you end up putting more layers on than is necessary to get the color saturation that you want. So because the lighter color is going to wash out your darker color a little bit, you're going to end up putting more pencil down to get that darker tone that you want. So now we've got our light and our medium tones there, and then we're going to put our dark tone on top of that. So our dark tone is going to be, muted by the light tone and the medium tone. Where in doing it this way, our dark tone goes down first and we build off of it. Now we're going to put down our dark tone. And then for this last one, we're going to do a different technique altogether. And the blending for these pencils is going very, very nicely. I am getting that gradient blend in both directions. So even if I'm going from dark to light or light to dark, I'm still getting that gradient blend. I just personally find that going from light to dark sometimes does mute the darker colors down quite a bit and darkens the lighter colors because you're going over it more than once. All right, so the next, this one here I'm going to do in a different manner altogether. I'm going to start with my dark. And I'm not going to leave a tail. I'm just going to put the dark in as dark as possible for those shadow areas. And then we're going to take our light and we're going to go into those areas that we know that light source is going to be. And then we're going to take our medium and we're going to fill it in. And basically all this is doing is it's just connecting the two light and dark colors. And then you can blend them in a little bit with your light color, like so. Still gives you the darker effect of this one and the blend of this one. So all in all, just doing that flower with the pinks, the pink tritone coloring, it worked out really well. Now let's do the ladybug with our dark red. So I'm going up through the grayscale area with the darkest color. And the reason why I do my charts like this is it gives me an ability to just take a quick glance at the colored spaces. This one here for line art, this one here, and this one here for grayscale, and then, the floral tones and the combinations that can be made. It gives me a good idea of whether or not this set works for the type of coloring I'm going to be doing. Because sometimes a set will work beautifully for line art, but you have to press too hard or have to get too many layers onto the grayscale, which the grayscale itself takes up some of the tooth of the paper, to actually get a good level of color to take over that grayscale. So basically with a grayscale, we want to color over it enough times, over the black part of the grayscale enough times to get that saturation of color to take over some of that black. And if the pencils aren't going to take over that black a little bit in the gray areas, then the pencils won't work well for grayscale. And basically all this little tiny bug test is going to do for us is tell us whether or not with the proper amount of layers, or as many layers as the page can take, if we can overtake the gray parts and create a really red, vibrant bug. I'm just blending into that darker red here. And I think it's done quite well. It does have the dark red look on the base of the grayed area. So now we're going to put in our black for our spots. As well as our little buggy head. And it's a cute little bug. So it did very well on the grayscale as well. Let's see if we can do a three color blend up here. So we need the orange, the red, and the yellow. So I need this orange. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with the yellow, and this is going to be done the way that the light to dark is being done there. So I'm going to cover the entire thing with the yellow. And then we're going to blend with the yellow. Now this is a technique I use in grayscale just to lighten the grayscale a little bit and create that ability to blend those colors, because the grayscale is going to take up some of the tooth of the page. Now I'm going to go in with the orange, and I'm extending it out from the start all the way out to where I want that orange to end. So I'm making sure I get all that orange area covered with the pencil, because once we put in the red, it's going to become an orange as well. It's just going to become a deeper orange. All right, now we're going to put in our red, and I'm going to sharpen my red a little bit just so I have a good point. The reason why I want a good point is because it's got very, very fine details here of where I want that red to be. So I want that red to be in the deepest part of the grayscale. So very, very end areas here. Moving into that orange. Like so. And there goes the choo-choo. Mr. Choo-choo Train says good morning and hello. Good afternoon. Good day, everyone. All right. So there is our red into that yellow and orange. Now we're going to take the yellow again and we're going to build up that yellow color around the edges. So we're darkening that and we're going to build up the color, brighten up the color inside the butterfly as well. Inside the wings. So it's a nice bright yellow on top of that orange. And then we have our wonderful monarch butterfly. All right, so let's take a little bit of brown. Let's test out one of these browns. It's this one. 703. Yeah, I don't really like that one. Let's use number 7. 703 looks a little pinky to me. Not quite the color I want for a bug. There we go. And there we have our little bug. So I'm going to grab the Ergosoft and we're going to do a couple of tests on the next flowers here. So let's see, where did I put those? Those are in this one here. I should have thought of this beforehand and just pulled them out, but you know, hindsight is 2020. All right. And there's our Ergosoft. All right. Now the good thing is that this one, the sleeves Velcro into, so it makes it easier to pull them out. All right, so our Ergosoft colored pencils, in difference to the ones that we have here. So let's pull, how about the same color of blue, maybe? Yeah, I think that one's pretty close. So our Ergosofts, like I said, are a triangular pencil. They do have the same number. So this one says Art NC 146C. This one says Art NR, oh, not NC, NR 157, and no C or anything like that. The difference between them, other than the fact that they are triangular instead of hexagonal, is they also have a coating inside of the pencil that protects from breakage. They do look like they have a little bit smaller of a core. So if you look closely, you can see this one here at the base is thicker than this one here at the base. So it looks like it has a bit of a thicker core. Like I said, they are triangular. These are hexagonal. Okay, so let's grab some pinky colors. Well, actually, we want to do orange and yellows for those. So since we have the orange and yellow out for the regular ones, let's grab those from here. I want this one. Get out of there. All right, so, and I think I want a peachy orange color too, if I have one. It doesn't look like it. Maybe this one. This one will do. And I want a peachy orange color for that one. All right. Okay, so the three colors that we're going to use for these flowers are these three here, which is a 222, number 4, and number 110 in the design series. And then we're also going to use these ones here in the Ergosoft. So we've got number 4, number 1, and number 43 of the Ergosoft. So those are the colors that we're going to use for this test, and we'll color one flower in each and determine what the difference is. Okay, so let's start with the Ergosoft. Another thing you'll notice about the Ergosoft is that they have a matte finish on their pencils. So they're a little bit smoother. They have a texture to them. So we're going to start off with our darkest color, which is number 4. And they are a very, very smooth pencil. And they are coating very nicely. Another influenced by Emily. These were Emily's fault too. Which in turn makes it Joanna's fault because Joanna influenced her to buy them. So we'll just say it's all Joanna Bashford's fault. But I don't mind because they're a lovely pencil. They do feel a little small in my hand comparative to a lot of other pencils that I use. So we're just working our way. Excuse me, one second. Had a tickle in my throat. We're just working our way up the flower with our darkest color here. Making sure that we get all the folds that we want to have a bit of a shadow. Okay, and now we're going to go into our peach tone. And we're going to extend from that darker orange. So this is going from dark to light instead of going from light to dark. Now I'm not getting as good of a blend right there that I want, but we'll add a bit of a tail there, and I may have not put down enough of a tail to blend into. So That may be user error. We will find out here in a little. I find that if I don't put in a little bit of a tail to blend into it, doesn't give me as good of a blend as I want. Leaves a bit of a hard line, and I'm not fond of hard lines. I'm picky. And of course that's no error of the pencil unless I'm not getting any sort of blend at all. And then that's something to do with the pencil. But I am getting a blend, which tells me it's user error. All right, now we're going to use number 1. So that one was number 43, and this is number 1, which is a fairly bright yellow. And I'm going right into that orange with it, just lightening up that orange a little bit because I thought it was a little bit too dark. Now I'm going to sharpen this just because it was a little dull. Got a bit of a scratch going on there. It may just be from the sharpener, leaving residual bits on the pencil because it stopped. Okay, so there is our Ergosoft. Just going to touch up here. And we're just going to touch it up just a little bit. And touch it up with a little bit more of the orange. So you can definitely build more color onto it. I'm going to extend this edge out here a little bit so that I have something to blend into. That's the edge that I didn't like the blend on. So the Ergosofts are quite soft, obviously. That's part of their name. And they do allow you to layer multiple layers of color. So if you find that one color is too dominant, you can definitely re-add the other colors to dull down the dominant color. They do blend quite well into each other, which is great. And they do feel pretty good in the hand. My one dislike of them is they don't have enough colors. They're a very limited palette. But with the way that they do blend, it's very easy to build a palette with them. So that is the Ergosoft. Now we're going to use the design series. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm just going to sharpen up the orange a little bit so that we can get into the dark areas here. Again, going into the deepest areas with the orange, we're going to build from dark to light, the same way we did with the Ergosoft. Because come on, let's be fair. Do our deepest shadows here. The shape of this flower is a little bit different, so it's got a couple of different little areas that are going to have a little bit more dark or a little bit more light. All right, now we're going to go in with our number 222, which is our peachy tone. Extending off of that orange. Now they are feeling a little bit harder, not as soft, not as squishy, I guess, because they are blending just as well. And they do feel a little bit larger in my hand. Now that may just be a shape thing, or it may be that the pencils are a little bit bigger. And then we're going to use number 110, which is our yellow tone. And we're just blending that all together. Okay, so let's see if we can build more color on top of it. Let's go back to our peach tone. And I can still feel the tooth through the color, so that's good. All right, and just a little bit more of that orange here. I'm going to feather that out a little. So both of them seem to give a very, very nice level of color. They do both blend very nicely into a wonderful tricolor blend. Yeah, I think both are very, very comparable to each other. The colors seem to be very close to each other as well in this three different color blends here. The difference, like I said, is the Ergosoft are a little bit softer. These do seem to be a little bit harder of a pencil. And these do have a bigger lead to them than the Ergosoft. Both great for details. And other than the fact that the Ergosoft does have a lacking of colors because it is a small set, you can definitely blend and create a larger set with them. To be honest, they both feel like they're the same type of pencil in quality wise. I do think the thing that's going to stand out more with the design series, of course, is the more colors and the larger lead. If you prefer a larger lead with a duller pencil, you may find that you prefer the design series. So I'm going to switch you over to the main screen here. I'm going to move the Ergosoft out of the way here. I'm going to put these ones side by side so you can see them together. All right, so there's our Ergosoft here, and there's our design series there. The difference between them, of course, is the triangle. That's an obvious difference, as well as the Ergosoft do have a layer of protection on the leads to help stabilize them. They do blend very nicely and they do feel good in the hand. They are, in my opinion, a thinner lead than are in the design series. The design series is a bit more of a chunkier pencil, and I find that they are a little bit easier to hold. The coating on the Ergosoft does make them feel um, silky in the hand, so they feel very, very smooth. Um, but it's hard to explain. They've got this feel, this sensory feel to them, almost like rubber. They've got a bit of a texture to them that keeps them from slipping around in your hand, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So comparing the two, I feel that either would be a wonderful set of pencils to add to your collection. Both are fabulous to add to your collection. They do overlap a little bit in the colors, like the yellows and the oranges are very close to the same color. The peach tones are a little bit different, so you may be able to build a a larger peach area in between the two sets. But together, I think they would make a really, really lovely set of pencils. The 72 set is a fine set of pencils, and it does have a lot of the different levels. Now, the few different families that I feel are being shorted is the orange family as well as the pink and purple family. I feel that the secondary colors are getting left out a little bit in those three areas. Other than that, I think, on first impressions, they blend very, very nicely together. They are water resistant. They do smudge a little bit if you push your hand too hard against them. So again, make sure that you go over and blend your colors when you're done with an area. They do a three-color blend very nicely, a gradient blend, where it does go from dark, medium to light without any huge transition lines, which is fantastic. It does a very nice rainbow blend as well from red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. And like I said, I do prefer the Caran d'Ache blender over the white. For 33 cents a pencil, bit of a no-brainer. I think they do very, very nicely and will be fantastic for using with our other pencils to get into those tight spots, or just by themselves doing small detail pages. So if you have a page that has a lot of really, really tiny details, these pencils will work beautifully for that. And so will the Ergosoft. So if you prefer those tiny details, this would definitely be the set I would grab for that. Comparative to any other pencil, I'm not going to compare them because every pencil has a use. These are no better, no worse, or anything like that than any other pencil that I have in my collection. If they were something that I didn't like, they would not be in the collection. So they are staying in the collection. I will be using them a little bit more throughout the next little while. Um, but they are definitely staying in the collection. And with that, my first impression is that they are a really lovely set of pencils. They blend beautifully. They are very comparative to the Ergosoft. Um, do I have a preference between them and the Ergosoft? I can't really say because I haven't used either set enough to have a preference. I do find that the smaller, thinner pencils are something that I grab more often when I'm doing very detailed small pages. With that, I think they're fantastic. The colors are great. A little lacking in our secondary colors, but our primary colors make up for it. And it does give us the ability to create those secondary colors. So I'm not too concerned on that. Yeah, really nice set of pencils. However, Staedtler, stop sending your pencils in paper packets. Those are little death traps for pencils. Please go out and save them all. Yeah, I don't like the packaging. Can you tell? But the pencils themselves are a lovely set of pencil, and I will be using them more, and I will give a better understanding of them once I do use them some more. All right, guys, with that, I'd like to say thank you all very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this segment of First Impressions Friday, and of course, I hope that it was helpful, if not entertaining. Until next time, always remember to relax, color, and stay safe, everyone. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you again very soon. Until next time, bye bye for now.